The Dharma, incomparably profound and exquisite, is rarely met with even in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas. We now can see it, hear it, accept and hold it. May we realize the true mind of the Tathagata. Today is the third day already of this 7-day sesshin. We're getting very close to halfway point, actually, for those of you who've been here since the beginning. And of course, it's August 2020, and should be a very rainy period, but it is not still. And looking at the forecast, there's no rain predicted for the rest of the month, which is rather unusual, except that with global warming, the Southwest is said to be on the trajectory to become hotter and drier, as if it's not hot and dry already. I'd like to share with you in the same kind of realm as the first two teishos have been, and with the words of Hafiz. Hafiz was a very, very popular Sufi poet, a Persian, that is, he lived in Iran, and was clearly deeply realized, and his poems express a lot of teaching. And I'd like to share some of them with you today, along with a little bit more from the Tibetan teachings of Longchenpa. So this is a book called I Heard God Laughing, Renderings of Hafiz. It actually was translated and published by our next door neighbor when we were living in Santa Fe. He was a very interesting, very humble human being. He lived alone, and he had an old car, which unfortunately got stolen at one point. It got stolen because people were using it to do drugs in. Because when they did find it, it was full of gold paint. So the folks that stole it were sniffing paint fumes, spray paint fumes. Anyway, we were friends for the short while that he lived there. After his house was then robbed in addition to that, and we lived in a pretty bad neighborhood. You know, it was the only affordable neighborhood in Santa Fe at the time. And when his house was robbed, it was kind of the final straw, and he set about to continue on his journey. He sold rugs. I believe that he was a practicing Sufi, and these translations are quite beautiful. So let me share some of them with you. This one is called My Brilliant Image. One day the sun admitted, that's S-U-N, I'm just a shadow. I wish I could show you the infinite incandescence that has cast my brilliant image. I wish I could show you, when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. I wish I could show you the astonishing light of your own being. Each one of us is that light. And what we are doing, all of us here in this sesshin, is working to uncover it more fully. It is obvious, but it's like it peeks through the cracks being the ideas we have about ourselves in particular, and about life and about things. But the light peeks through those cracks and gives us a hint of what we could really realize. Once more, one day the sun admitted, I'm just a shadow. I wish I could show you the infinite incandescence that has cast my brilliant image. I wish I could show you, when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your very own being. The astonishing light of your very own being. And I'm just going to pick and choose some of his poetry here and there. This is called For a While. We've all come to the right place. We all sit in God's classroom. Now, the only thing left for us to do, my dear, is to stop throwing spitballs for a while. What are those spitballs? How are we entertaining ourselves and overlooking that amazing incandescent light of our own being? How does it feel to be a heart? Once a young woman asked me, how does it feel to be a man? And I replied, my dear, I'm not so sure. Then she said, well, aren't you a man? And this time I replied, I view gender as a beautiful animal that people often take for a walk on a leash and might enter into some old contest to try to win strange prizes. My dear, a better question for Hafiz would have been, how does it feel to have a heart? For all I know is love, and I find my heart infinite and everywhere. Awake a while. It doesn't have to be forever right now. One step upon the sky's soft skirt would be enough. Hafiz, awake a while. Just one true moment of love will last for days. Rest all your elaborate plans and tactics for knowing him, for they're all just frozen spring buds. Far, so far from summer's divine gold. Awake, my dear. Be kind to your sleeping heart. Take it out into the vast fields of light and let it breathe. Say, love, give me back my wings. Lift me nearer. Say to the sun and moon, say to our dear friend with a capital F, I will take you up now, beloved, on that wonderful dance you promised. There's a wonderful game. There's a game we should play, and it goes like this. We hold hands and look into each other's eyes and scan each other's face. Then I say, now tell me the difference you see between us. And you might respond, Hafiz, your nose is 10 times bigger than mine. Then I would say, yes, my dear, almost 10 times. But let's keep playing. Let's go deeper. Go deeper. For if you do, our spirits will embrace and interweave. Our union will be so glorious that even God will not be able to tell us apart. There's a wonderful game we should play with everyone, and it goes like this. He cuts the plow reins. What does purity do? It cuts the plow reins. It frees you from working and dining in the mud. It frees you from living behind a big ox that is always breaking wind. What can purity do, my dear? It can lift your heart on a rising, bucking sun that makes the soul hunger to reach the roof of creation. It offers what the world would want, real knowledge and power. It offers what the wise crave, the priceless treasure of freedom with a capital F. Pure divine love is no meek priest or tight banker. It'll smash all your windows and only then throw in the holy gifts. It will allow you to befriend life and light and sanity, and not even mind waking to another day. He's pointing, that's probably pretty clear to you. He's pointing to something deep and precious and universal in each one of us, and something that each one of us can also open to more and more and more completely. And as we do, that freedom that was just mentioned is something that we can walk in. And that freedom is something that even if we are in a prison, even if it appears that our life is destroyed, we are still filled with joy, total presence, and the freedom from having to be somebody. Having to be somebody carries an enormous weight. Of course, it's important to fit into society up to a point, but so many of us are prisoners to society. And that's not what life is about. It's about living the joy, the amazement, the profoundness of existence, of being with a capital B. And this is what each of these different quotes that I've given you the last 2 days really, really express. They point to this. However, as you all probably also know, their fingers pointing to the moon. And the most important thing is to experience the moonness that you are. So here is Longchenpa. If I can get to the right page. Because I am in unborn reality itself, you are beyond concepts of reality. Subtle reality just is. Because there is nowhere to go apart from me, one is beyond paths to traverse. Because all Buddhas, sentient beings, appearances, existences, environments, and inhabitants arise from the quintessential state of pure and total presence, one is beyond duality. And of course, that's exactly what the scroll behind us here in the Zendo says. Out of not one thing arise the 10,000 things. The way of living which masters appearances. Know the state of pure and total presence to be a vast expanse without center or border. This is you. Know the state of pure and total presence to be a vast expanse without center or border. It is everywhere the same without acceptance or rejection. Blend the nature of mind and its habit patterns into non-duality, because entities, whether subjectively conceived or directly experienced, are present as ornaments of one's own state of being, as ornaments. Do not accept or reject them. So when stuff comes up in Zazen, just as is written here, do not accept or reject them. But don't go into some kind of blank place. Tune in. Explore. And because they're not divided into self and other, the apparitional, spontaneously present objects are the play of pure experience. And listen, this majestic awareness, freely transforming itself, displays the integrated structure centered around the inner reality of form. Everything that exists and appears displays itself in the space of unborn reality. In this inner reality, there's nothing to accept or reject. All that exists is displayed by me, the supreme ordering principle. And the Kanon chant, the 10-verse Kanon Sutra. Kanzeon namu butsuyo butsu en yo butsu en boppo so en jo rakurajo chonen kanzeon bonen kanzeon nennen jushin ki nennen furishin. Kanon, Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva of compassion, is pointing to the same thing. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure. This is a description of the energy of our being. But find this out for yourself. When you allow yourself pure presence, when suddenly you drop into pure presence, it will be amazing. And it's real. And it's freeing. And you can open to it. And I think that's enough. This is a short teisho, but it's rather rich and full of things that are important to ponder beyond words. Somewhere Hafiz has a poem about how the sun and the moon are too amazing to squeeze through the little thing, the little opening called a mouth. Words are useful at certain times, but they are not the be-all and end-all that we are taught that they are. The same with thoughts, which is a collection of words too. It's kind of fun to write. It's kind of fun to think. But if we substitute writing and thinking, computer games and thinking, for experiencing reality, we are robbing ourselves and sort of living in a tiny dark cave when all of reality is glowing brilliantly outside the tiny cave. So keep working. These words are not words that most people are accustomed to hearing. Out of not one thing arise the 10,000 things. Huh? How can that be? But it is. Discover this for yourself and become incredibly free to live fully. I thank you for listening. We'll stop now and recite the 4 vows.